Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, September 29th, the last Sunday in September. Boston City Council President Ruthie Louisjean is our guest this morning. Let's go on the record. She is bringing stability to a council that not long ago was actually called a clown show. But from business to bike lanes, the challenges are many. How's she navigating? It's time to go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to OTR. I'm Ed Harding.
And I'm Charmin Sacchetti. Joining us at the table is Boston City Council President Ruthie Louisjean. She became council president in January and first took office in 2022. Born and raised in Mattapan and Hyde Park, a BPS grad, she is the first Haitian American elected to represent Boston citywide. A lawyer, she holds degrees from Columbia University, Harvard Law, and Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Great to see you.
Thanks for coming in. Let's start right off the beginning. As city councilors, you are the first point of contact for residents. You are the front line of offense and defense. So when there's a problem, people start talking to you. So let's start with late school buses. There is a new app using GPS technology. It's off to a rough start. That's a fair way to phrase it. Two of your colleagues, Councilors Ed Flynn and Aaron Murphy, went before the State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education to ask for help. They want an investigation into root causes and an action plan with clear timelines. Can it be fixed? How hard is it to fix?
It can be fixed. And the Zoom app is a new app that we're using in the city of Boston to actually improve on arrivals and pickups for our students. And whenever there's anything new, whenever there is a transition, if you ask Zoom when they've been in other cities, it takes some time. And so were we happy with the arrival rate on the first day of school? No. Are we happy today with the arrival rate? No, but are we getting better? Yes. This new Zoom app, once we work out the kinks and the drivers figure out how to use it and improve it, it's going to be, and it already is, a game changer. I was speaking to my sister this morning who has her own gripes about how her son is being dropped off late, but she's saying, what is great? When I decide to drop my kid off to school or pick him up, at least I can cancel, and then you don't have the bus showing up
at that place.
Exactly. And that's an improvement on what was before.
Is the heat directed at the mayor? Is it directed at the superintendent, and is it directed at the council, and is the heat justified?
Well, I think anytime you have a disruption to a parent trying to plan their day, they have to work, they want things to run smoothly. My sister wants things to run smoothly, and I think all politics is local. We are the ones who control the buses, the mayor, the city council, and so yes, we are the recipients along with the BPS Transportation Department. They're doing really great work. They're trying their best. Dan over at that department does really great work, and the entire team there. And so yes, people can and they should call our office, and as they do, or email our office with their frustration so that we can improve the usage of the app. My cousin is a school bus driver, and he was telling me that you can't just rely on the app. You also have to think about where the app is where it's trying to send you, and also use your own brain.
Were there any sort of practice runs with this app?
There were practice runs, but we need to make sure that we're doing more practice runs so that people feel more comfortable, so they can understand what the app is trying to tell drivers to do. The buses are trying to make sure that we are picking kids up at their at the point that feels the most natural. So that the door opens, no kid has to cross the street, that the bus is right there. So there are going to be some kinks. Maybe that means that it's going to send you around the world, and maybe that's not what we want to happen. But we have to create space to be able to work out these kinks. It's not going to be perfect. You can't snap your finger. Calling for any sort of investigation is definitely premature. We got to work out these kinks. We got to work with the bus drivers, the unions, to make sure that everyone feels comfortable. But parents are warranted in feeling that frustration because they have a schedule, and we need to help them meet their schedule and balance their days.
Let's talk about bike lanes. They have become a bit of a flashpoint in the city of Boston. Critics said that the lanes would make bad traffic congestion worse. They do appear to be right. You do have to understand there is definitely a safety component, certainly, for bike lanes. There need to be bike lanes in the city. However, it does also make the traffic congestion worse. So I wonder, is a reassessment needed here?
I think we definitely need to listen to community. Sometimes community presents, okay, maybe this isn't the best street to have the bike lane. Could we alternatively think about this side street or other different patterns? So
not be afraid to pull back a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that there are times where
reimagine streets.
Exactly. But I also think, unfortunately, we saw recently the death of a cyclist in Cambridge. And we need to ensure safety on our roads. We need to make sure that our roads can be used by cars, by pedestrians, by cyclists, by folks on scooters.
That's a state road, I believe, right? Is that right? Memorial Drive.
Along Memorial.
Memorial Drive. And so we need to be able to make sure that we are creating these multimodal roads.
Back to the school bus problem. And if you have the bike lane, you have parking, and then you have two-way traffic. How does the bus get down? The road just gets squeezed.
Yes,
and that adds travel time.
It does add. It does narrow the road so that we can make sure that everyone is able to travel on the road. A big component here is the MBTA and making sure that people feel comfortable taking public transit. Also, we need to make sure that people can plan their days. It does need, and they are doing better. They've reduced a lot of the slow zones on the red line, but also to get better, you got to close the red line. You got to close these lines down sometimes, which adds to more traffic. So it's just not one thing contributing to the traffic that we're seeing on our roads.
Next topic here. Let's talk about Boston Mayor Michelle Wu spoke about positive economic developments in the city before the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce. She did that last week, but her plan to raise commercial taxes while cutting residential taxes is not a hit with the business community. Some members of the council also are seeking alternatives. The House has approved. The mayor is optimistic the Senate will go along, but nothing happens without Beacon Hill approval. Do you still support the plan, right? Let me just say you do, right?
I do support the plan.
You do support
yes.
it. So tell me why you support the plan. Why are you still behind it?
The plan is really important to make sure that our residents aren't shocked with a huge tax bill increase, which is what would happen should nothing happen.
Right.
And so it's important that we phase in, which is what this would do. Residents will actually still experience an increase in their property taxes. It's just how blunt of a tool is that? How fast, and is it increase 18%, 33%, or is it more of a gradual increase? And we're trying to protect residents by making sure that it's more of a gradual increase. In order to do this this tax shift, we need permission from the State House. So much of what we want to do in the city of Boston.
Is there something awkward about that? This is the city of Boston. This is not the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
I know.
Is there something unnecessary about that?
Look, the lawyer in me wishes our home rule authority was different, that we didn't have to go every time we wanted to make a major policy decision to Beacon Hill. But, that's what the law is right now. And
Mayor
it's
Wu
important.
did meet with the Senate president
Yes.
last week, and the Senate president office putting out a statement essentially saying they still failed to reach consensus. Are you confident consensus will be reached at the State House?
I'm confident. The mayor is working really hard to make sure that our residents don't feel a big increase in their property taxes. I think even with home rule authority, I think that we need to use our relationships both at this, and we saw that at the House level, at the Senate level, to make sure, hey, we're all on the same team, trying to make sure that we're working and doing what's best, not only for our residents, but for our businesses.
Let's talk about the closure of Kearney Hospital, which is, of course, a Steward hospital. Mayor Wu has said that she opposes any effort to rezone that property for any other use than healthcare. The hospital's now closed. What do you think the future is for that location?
Yeah, so that was a really big blow to the neighborhood, to so many communities that depended on Kearney for culturally competent healthcare. I was out there every day opposing and protesting. What we allowed Steward to do in our Commonwealth is unconscionable. For them to again and again put profit and greed before healthcare. Question whether private equity should be in the healthcare industry. I think this is an example of why it should not be. And so we have to make sure that it continues to be a healthcare facility for our residents. We've seen an uptick in usage of other nearby facilities, whether it be Common Square Health Center or a Dot House or other places, because people are still showing up to Kearney for healthcare.
Yeah. What about housing? I mean, the city desperately needs more housing. The mayor's been clear about what she wants to see in that location, healthcare, but is housing a potential?
I think we can always think about what mixed use could look like, but we've heard very clear from the communities that use it, the Dorchester community, the Mattapan community, the Vietnamese community, the Haitian community, that we need healthcare. The psych beds that were there, the urgent care that was there, EMS depended on Kearney so much. We need to make sure that we have a healthcare facility there.
We've been mentioning Steward Healthcare, and the U.S. Senate, as you know, voted unanimously to have Steward Healthcare CEO Ralph De La Torre face criminal contempt charges.
First time in 50 years.
Should he be put in
rare
prison?
Situation.
Should he be put in prison?
I mean, it is really criminal when you think about what they do, and what they do not only in Boston and the Commonwealth. They're dealing with air literally around the country. They put short-term profit over the health and well-being of our communities, and we shouldn't stand for it at all.
When you said the state, just one more thing, when you said the state sort of allowed this, do you hold state officials accountable?
I think we need to just be doing more financial oversight over the happenings when there are transactions happening. Even when the governors tried our best to make sure that they were producing financial documents, they weren't. They would often be non-responsive. They shuttered Kearney Hospital before the legally mandated date pursuant to state law, and so it's just. It's unfair, and I think it's disrespectful to our Commonwealth, to our city, and to our residents.
Ruth C. Lujan is in the chair. We continue on the record after this. Stay with us.